repair at NGH, which is actually one of our pieces that will not be complete by tomorrow. But the only reason it's not going to be complete by tomorrow is because there is not enough wood that fits the parameters for that fence in Natchitoches Parish right now. I am assured it will be completed within the first 2 weeks of school. So that way, when you see that big, beautiful new sign at NGH, you'll also see brand new fencing instead of that old fencing that's there. There was also, we had a storm that blasted off a piece of metal on the side of NGH. They repaired that. We're waiting for the new metal to come in, but the in-between repair is done. Installation of an intercom system at one of our schools. And I know this is not an exhaustive list, but that is a massive amount of work. And when I drive the district and I see how all the schools look, they also moved, they went and helped when principals just needed them to come help move stuff, even after the moves were done. The district looks really, really nice right now. The open houses that went on last night, several are going on tonight. I think really good foot forward. They also facilitated with pains to make sure that all the grass was mowed for our first day of school. So I cannot say enough about that entire team and the two men leading them, Mr. Fred and Mr. Ryan. Just shout out to them. I do want to highlight 3 items that are going to be a little bit delayed. One was that the repair on the it's decorative fencing, but the wooden fencing at NJH that covers the dumpster area, that is in dire need of being replaced. But we are waiting on the wooden panels to arrive, so that's going to not be done for tomorrow. Also, I want to mention that the pre-K bathrooms at Magnet, which were started well before the end of, or slightly before the end of school last year, they will not be ready for possibly 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how quick we get the flooring in, because that's the thing that's holding us up. The good news on that is pre-K doesn't start until August 11th, and then at the same time, these bathrooms, although they're going to be great, we feel as though they're necessary, but we can make do for that 1 week where we might have students and the pre-K bathrooms aren't complete. And then also, this one may not be an issue, but we had some fire marshal communication, which they have been so good to us, the fire marshal has. But because of some legal stuff and permitting stuff, there may not be electricity in the 2 modular buildings tomorrow, but I believe it'll be up by Thursday. But that's a simple fix that Mr. Antavius will work around tomorrow, and then we'll be up and going. So if you would have told me 2 months ago those were the only things that would be slightly on our list, I would have called it a win. But I did want to also be very transparent about the reality that there'll be few little things still on the list. Questions about that before I move on?
You said that the playgrounds were moved at some schools?
That all the playground equipment, for instance, so the old Magnet was a pre-K through 8th grade, and they were moving to a 5th and 6th grade, so their playground equipment needed to be moved. And then also NJH, as a 6 through 8, does not have a need for playground equipment. At the same time, there had to be some playground equipment that Ms. Tanki has been asking about put together at LP Vaughn for the pre-K. And then also many of the playgrounds also had to have these rubber pellets added to meet code, because if the playground equipment is above a certain height and the students jump down, there has to be so many inches of that rubber pellet to meet those specifications, and that's all been taken care of as well.
Okay. And I knew I received complaints about the leaking at the atrium at the high school.
Yes, ma'am. So that I had heard tell of that, that there was something about water would come up through that drain in the atrium. I personally witnessed it for the first time myself. So Mr. Shirley and myself, we are reaching out to an engineer, because this is an issue where the belief is that water is accumulating at the top of the roof, and when it drains down, it's rushing through one entry point. So that is going to have to be, that is beyond maintenance, that is beyond calling someone, that is an engineering issue. But we are adamant, after I saw it, that it needs to be addressed as soon as possible. So hopefully, I would hope by next month we would have an engineer that would be able to give us a legitimate update of what a fix would mean. Because it's not necessarily a repair; it's probably going to be a structural change of some sort with the plumbing.
So we'll have to send out bids for that?
I would I would hope we wouldn't, because I'm hoping it's going to be a really cheap fix.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I imagine getting an engineer involved, it's not going to be the easiest of fixes. But say a little prayer, and we'll see next month.
Okay. Well, I did get a chance to ride by over in East, and the signs look nice. The front of the schools look really nice. We plan to, visit some as soon as
Yes,
possible.
ma'am. So, and if you want to watch KSLA, I think tomorrow at 5:30. No, 5:45, 6, 6:30, and 7, and then 7:30. Me and Miss Armitres will be on the news during their morning show. I will not be at the 7:30. She won't be at the 5:45. So, but we're excited to show off East 5th. It looks really nice. And also NJH, I actually like the NJH sign the most. But they're all beautiful.
So,
Yes, sir.
so these modular buildings, are they buildings that we?
They're the same ones, if you go over to Natchez Central, that we put in place during COVID. They're super high quality, and they're surrounded by wooden ramps for students if they need handicap accessible entry. But they're super nice, and that's going to be used. I think at Magnet they're using those mainly for orchestra, so that way they'll have a space they can make as much noise as they want to without bothering anyone or being bothered. So, all right. Want to make sure that everyone knows that Miss Ramona and her team have done an amazing job. I believe right now, in terms of teaching staff, we are maybe short a couple staff that we are able to have substitutes until, but it's amazing. We are in a better spot today than we typically start a year. Typically, we have a handful, and it's like one or two. Am I stating that correctly, Ms. Ramona? Okay. Open houses have been going great. I attended LPs, the labs, and I cruised by Weaver and Magnets. They were all fantastic, and I also was at Natchez Central's, and then I heard tell that Lakeview's was fantastic. Great showing. Do want to remind you of 3 items that are not on the agenda for tonight, but will be on the agenda for next Tuesday. One, you might notice that the hunting leases, those were put out to bid. Those bids came back. They will be on the agenda for Tuesday. There's a small issue that we're getting with Mr. Stamey to work out, but those should be prepared for y'all to vote on Tuesday. Also, we are still planning to have an executive session. I'm still trying to get in touch with Mr. Geis. He's obviously a very popular man this time of year, but that should still occur Tuesday. Also, Miss Felicia will be presenting today on the alternative handbook, which she met with several of y'all about. But the behavioral pilot that we mentioned last month that we were going to talk about, she asked to give her some time, and also since she's presenting a large thing tonight, to move that to next week's meeting. Also, I do want to mention Mr. Wascom, as everyone's aware, because it was made the journal. He retired. He's going to be with us kind of remotely for the next couple months as he transitions to going into full time with his businesses that he has. I think this board would agree that we're going to miss him. That he was a great contributor to the district, and many of the things, whether it even be this room, that he contributed to. So we will be getting out a notice tomorrow that we have that opening. And as much as we miss him and we have big shoes to fill, we're also very excited about the next chapter. And as we go right now, we're working with Mr. Stanfield, that many of y'all know, who works with the district, and he's focusing on 3 things: closing out last year's budget, creating with me and staff next year's budget, and then making sure payroll runs on time and is correct, which Ms. Anitra does a wonderful job of. But those are kind of his three things. But we believe within the next month, at worst case 2 months, we should have the right person. And listen, I haven't even put the ad out yet, and we already had people who've been contacting. So we're very excited. And that's my superintendent report for August. We're super excited to start off tomorrow. One final little note, and Mr. Baptiste may speak on it. Realize that tomorrow, whether it be busing or information systems at the schools, we've been doing registration for the past 2 months, I think, and our ability to respond to things is only as good as the information that's been given to us. And in some cases, that information, we asked for it to be updated, and it may not have been, and that's fine. We'll work through that tomorrow. But we just ask for a little bit of patience and grace, because sometimes it may appear to be a situation that a student gets home a little later than is expected, but it's because we didn't have the right address in the system, and bus drivers just worked diligently to get the child home as soon as possible and as safely as possible. So just be gracious, and then also realize East Fifth tomorrow, as always, is going to be busy. So just realize that is not unusual. That's normal. So any questions?
With the hunting lease, I had a call, one of the hunting lease going to swap, and the people that's supposed to get it, they had people that have been crossing before we even started to get to their property. Where the new ones that's supposed to take the lease have told them they're not going to let them cross. So I want to make sure if somebody's crossing our property that been crossing it before we started leasing it, they still have the right of way to get to their property. But this group of people that's going to get it say, y'all not going to be able to cross it. Well, if that's a right of way, we need to make sure whoever going to lease the property, that they have to let the people cross to their property.
Yes, sir. We're in complete agreement, and that's what we have Mr. Stamey looking into and working on for us right now.
And some of these right of ways was by word of mouth, a shake of hand. It's not into the clerk of court and stuff. And we always, down my way, we always steal grants. If it was your great grandpa made an agreement with somebody else's great grandpa, you just go ahead and let that. It's been doing it, so let them go ahead and keep doing it.
Yes, sir.
I agree, Mr. Carter, but we do need to have all that in writing.
Yeah.
We do need to nail that down before it gets out of
Because
hand.
if we go grant them the lease, then
That's right.
they'll stop it, and then we
That's right.
have to be all kind of legal stuff to try to get it back round.
Oh, and I apologize. I had one other item that I inadvertently skipped. One reminder, pre-K does not come tomorrow. Also, remember that kindergarten is on a staggered schedule, which has been communicated at most schools. And then also realize that tomorrow at Natchitoches Central, only ninth graders come. And then at Lakeview, 6th through 9th graders come, but no 10th, 11th, and 12th graders parish-wide will come to school tomorrow. So we've put that out, but we want to reiterate that.
I'm sure they won't be sad.
No, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Eloy?
No questions, but I wanted to make a comment before we moved on, because I checked the agenda and I didn't see anything, and I know we're gonna deal with this situation on this subject on next month. I just wanted to say that I think we were in a meeting recently in regards to bullying, and that was something that we want to emphasize. That is something that as a school district we need to deal with. There's a lot of bullying that goes on that we're not aware of, because the children are afraid to say anything because of the consequences or the fact that they're snitching. But that's something that we need to deal with, because on a personal level, dealt with it, and it is traumatizing for a child to have to deal with that. And the parents don't know, the school is not aware. They need to know that they can talk to someone at the school, a counselor, a principal, or someone that can assist them, because this is something that's really serious. A lot of social media is involved in it. And I may be saying something that the superintendent was going to say, but it's something that I wanted us to make sure that the public is aware that we're going to deal with this situation.
Yes, ma'am. So, and I appreciate you bringing that up. We are at the request of Ms. McGaskey, but it was also kind of, we were convicted of the same thing when we spoke to her, that we are going to commit to September, which is already National Suicide Prevention Month, but we're going to combine that with bullying prevention, and we're going to do a major campaign with our schools, social media, et cetera, to get the word out about the seriousness of this. In fact, I was talking to Ms. Pinckney today, and she was crafting an email to send out to principals to reiterate what we spoke about in terms of bullying, so that principals realize how important it is that if they hear that word, bullying, from a parent, from a student, from a teacher, that or any staff member, that they immediately initiate a state bullying investigation.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And also in regards to that, asked about flyers, but no, we're going to get some information out when the campaign starts, and there's a number that they can call. I'm sure that information will be included.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Speaking of patience and grace, I did neglect to announce, if you are here to speak on an agenda item and you're not listed on the agenda and you do want to speak, be sure and fill out a form at the back of the room. And please forgive me for not saying that earlier. And we are going to move on with the consent agenda. Item 5C, we have an out-of-state travel for NCHS FFA chapter. It looks like they are traveling to Indianapolis, Indiana. Any additional?
No, this is they routinely go to the national conference, and I think it's always in Indianapolis. So this is routine.
Actually, they won first place in the state, so they're representing the whole state.
Yeah.
So that's pretty.
That's awesome.
That's pretty neat.
You remember Colton Conley went
I do remember that.
years back as well.
I do.
Which y'all have always granted.
So if anybody says no, then it would
I'm
be
just
horrible.
I just didn't want you to think it was new.
No. And there is a recommended action on their motion to approve out-of-state travel for NCHS FFA chapter to Indianapolis, Indiana from October 27th to November 1st, 2025, including the $300 travel stipend to each qualifying student. And we'll move on to item 6A on the informational reports. Ms. Hicks, I saw her earlier. There she is. You would have had the whole table to yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I can't see it on the screen, but I'm assuming you can see it on yours. I made a little decision to just share with you the forms that I submit to the state every month. So what you're looking at is the claim for June. That would be our summer school. And this really does provide just a wealth of information. But the bottom line on that is that we did collect $20,525 through our summer school efforts. The second page is a breakdown of participation by site. And so you can look at that and see the different sites that were in operation, how many breakfasts and lunches were served there. So you'll be getting something very similar to this each month, but the form looks a little bit different for National School Lunch Program than the summer school form. So that is there for you to review. I also just wanted to mention and give a very public thank you to Bank of Montgomery for sponsoring our back-to-school breakfast that we had. We had a very nice half-day in-service on Monday with our staff, and we were able to treat them to breakfast from Legacy Cafe, which was phenomenal. And we recognized our employees with perfect attendance. We had 3 who didn't miss a day last year, not a minute of a day. And we also recognized our retirees from last year. They came and ate breakfast with us. I'd like to also just say a special thank you to the IT department, talking about things that go on behind the scenes. The switching around of everything this summer it created a lot of behind the scenes work for us, and by us I mean Edward. So they have been instrumental. I think we're all ready for tomorrow, and I'll be starting my day in a school, making sure that everything runs smoothly. We're fully staffed and ready.
And Ms. Hicks, I go to serve August 28th.
Now, Miss Val has your schedule.
Okay.
Miss Val has your schedule. She is in charge of that, and she will, I promise she won't let you forget.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hicks, so this appears to be the first year that NSU eLab will have breakfast at their school.
They
Are
will have
prepared
breakfast from 7 until 7:30. There will be no charge for breakfast or lunch. So Ms. Sharon Holland, who's the manager there, assures me they have a great plan. So if your student would like to eat breakfast there, it will be between 7 and 7:30 in the morning.
Perfect. Any questions for Ms. Hicks? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6B, the transportation report, Mr. Baptiste.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right. Okay, so we don't have it up. I'm assuming everyone has a copy. All right. I'm happy to inform everyone that our school routes, our bus routes for the 25-26 school year have been finalized. We've made the necessary adjustments to affect or to react to the enrollment changes and the school closures. Those routes also account for the new school configurations. I talked to you guys a couple of months ago and last month about our hiring efforts, ongoing hiring efforts over the summer. We were able to add 8 new drivers over the summer, which I think is pretty impressive. That's going to help us with our coverage. These drivers, part of them will be helping with our sped routes and in our rural areas, and we're looking to reduce crowding and increase our on time to schools and to decrease our overall time spent on the bus with students. We still have our ongoing recruitment. We're still currently continuing to hire so that we have subs and additional drivers over the school year. I'm also proud to announce that we have 15 new buses that have been added to the fleet. Part of this, with the addition of these buses, it actually reduced our average fleet year by 1 calendar year. So our fleet's newer as a result of these additions. All of our buses have air-conditioned GPS tracking and all the upgrades. We continue to do preventive maintenance, and we've got buses that we've got repositioned across the parish just in case we've got any down equipment so that we can react faster. So as Dr. Eloy said earlier, we do ask that if there's any issues, which I don't anticipate that we should have many, that we would ask for patience as we work to ensure that every student gets home and to school safely. Any questions?
So real quick, because I spoke to Mr. Kozad, I want to point something out. The GPS tracking, I think, is at 70% reliability as of today. There's still some data that needs to be put in there. I think y'all have 6 buses that we have to.
Right. Yeah. He and I discussed there's about 6 that he needs to put the new tags
trackers in. So parents for that first week or so just realize that we're working together to get it to that 100%. But it for the most part it should be accurate tomorrow. But again, just a few little bumps. And I also want to mention they've been great partners getting the school bus routes out. But, this is Mr. Baptiste's first year, and he was really wanting to get them out sooner. And we are going to do some things on our side to be able to ensure that we are able to get bus routes out probably a week sooner than we did this year. But that's going to take nothing on their part. It's going to take us doing some little shifts in district. And we're kind of excited about it because it'll help parents and families plan even sooner.
As am I.
Yes, yes, sir. We've been talking a lot lately.
Yes, we have.
Mr. Baptiste, so
Yes, ma'am.
apparently Dr. Eloy is volunteering to serve in the cafeteria. Could he possibly drive a bus? Is that okay?
My CDL has lapsed.
Then
maybe
then
not.
we may have. Well, we do have some monitor positions.
Always, yeah. Put me to work.
Absolutely. I've got a nice yellow vest for him.
Yes, sir.
On
Thank you,
the GPSs, they go live at 6 a.m.
That's
What I read.
Mr. Kozad. Can you answer that question for us?
Do we have children that get on the bus before 6 a.m.?
We're not supposed to.
No,
No.
no.
Okay. I know that's been mentioned before in some rural areas, and I've gotten questions about that.
If you find that out,
Okay. Okay. All right.
no.
So yeah, that's a no for us. It's a no for them. But every so often an employee does something that they're not asked to, and
Yeah, you're right.
we just need to nip that in the
Well, I
bud.
mean, if I get it, but I mean, I've heard it mentioned in here before that
Yes, sir.
kids are getting on before 6.
Rule is that, say for instance, if the parent driving the bus or the grandparents driving the bus or the uncle, and they start at the house, the child can get on the bus with them because that way they don't have to double back to it.
Right.
The child have to be a relative of that bus driver to start before then.
And on the routes, we provide them all the information, and you make all those routes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Correct.
And that's where the difficulty comes in, because y'all might have seen a video of me about a week ago imploring everyone to get the information in. And so our information is only as good as what we're provided, and then their routes are only as good as the information that we provide. So it's kind of a down chain thing. But we have some ideas on how we can easily make that process smoother for next year. So.
Right. And to your point, we did notice there were some areas where there wasn't what we thought was 100% registration in areas where we knew that there were students. So we've made adjustments, even in areas where maybe if parents didn't pre-register, we still made some adjustments in areas where we knew that there was a pretty high population of students, even if they weren't registered, so that we would be able to.
That's what I meant
in
when I
real
told
time.
you we will have some parents who did no registering and may perhaps even be brand new to the district, and they will expect bus service tomorrow, which we will
Right.
provide, but they just need to understand that we have to pivot. They have to pivot
Right.
when that happens.
So we are aware of those, and so we've made some arrangements. Hopefully, our plans are robust enough to cover any potential people that didn't. But we do have coverage for those people who had not pre-registered.
And so with the hiring of the additional drivers, and you said there were 8
Yes, ma'am.
city buses added? New
15.
buses, 15, so that's
15.
going to take care of the problem with the overcapacity.
That's the idea.
Okay, that was a major concern.
That's the idea.
Okay, any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Baptiste.
Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay, item 5C, Federal Programs Monthly Report, Sarah Rashel.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Our program highlights for July for Title I, our homeless students. We've been supporting them with uniforms. The following schools we provided support: Lakeview, Natchitoches Junior High, LP Bond, Magnet, ELAB, Marthaville, Weaver, and Provençal. It is important to note that although ELAB is not a Title I school, Homeless Set Aside supports all economically disadvantaged families. Title II for professional development, a lot has been happening there as our teaching and learning department supports our teachers, new teachers and returning teachers in preparing for school. So that took up a lot of our Title II funding for July, was earmarked specifically for professional development stipends. Early childhood, the number you have in front of you indicates 109 early childhood scholarships that have been distributed to families for full paid tuition seats. As of today, we have 140 of those. And so, 128, we have 12 more that were pending when I left, but I just signed those over, so they'll be in the system 8 a.m. So we're very excited about the support that we've been given from the Rapides Foundation with over $1 million in funding in the State Department with the same. Any questions on just program highlights so far?
For that, the homeless service with the uniforms,
Yes, sir.
if someone was in that situation, they would go to that principal contact them at that school, or how would they go about that?
They would contact Alexis Conde
Okay.
at our office. She can support.
And also, I do want y'all to know, I told every principal this morning that no student who is out of uniform today, because of, they didn't know or they didn't have, no one is to be turned away. We are to work with those families, get them what they need, and go on about our day.
Great.
Yes. For budget snapshot, full transparency for Title I and Title II, we just received our super app back this morning, and with the temporary holding of funds that have now been released, we're back to zero on planning piece. Now, we have plenty of money to do so. We're excited about that. Those funds that were withheld are now released, so we're prepared to put in those budget items that we've already prioritized. But I don't want to go too deep into that because it will look different from what was provided to you. Redesign stayed the same at about $334,000. We've already obligated $82,000 of that. Those funds are earmarked for our CIR, our labeled schools, and we utilize those funds to provide high-quality curriculum for those schools. Early childhood funding, state general funds, in collaboration with the Rapides Foundation, we have about $3 million. And like I just previously mentioned, 90% is dedicated to seats, fully paid seats, so that we can prioritize our birth to 3 families entering into a high-quality child care center. Compliance and reporting, we submitted our LA4 waiver requests and our assurances that we, as the LEA, will make sure our students are in a classroom where there's 1 to 20 teacher-student ratio, all the things that are required to participate in the program. Other things I just want to highlight is that we too, with staffing, we've been blessed. Our pre-K staff is in place with the addition of another classroom at LP Vaughan. We're extremely excited about that, having 5 classrooms, 4 classrooms with 20 at LP Vaughan and 1 classroom with 10. Very excited to be able to place all of those families in our pre-K program. We just recently have Fairview is at 29 students, and so my team went down to meet with Ms. Triggs this afternoon, and so they're going to have a classroom of 20 and a classroom of 9 with the hopes of 1 more to make our goal of 30. So we're extremely excited about that. We have maybe 4 or 5 pre-K4 students on the wait list. We do anticipate that increasing as soon as they see the yellow buses pass on tomorrow. They're going to remember that they have a 4-year-old. And so we are still open for applications. However, those families will be placed on a wait list. Of course, we offer them one of our typically they're known as child care centers that offer a 4-year-old classroom. We talk about the options there. So we're really excited just to have, we were a little nervous about opening those additional pre-K4 classrooms without having the staff in place, but we were able to secure some promising pre-K teachers for our district. Looking ahead, we're just working on needs assessments and getting ready to resubmit our super app based on the release of those funds. Any questions?
Ms. Sarah, you answered the question before it was asked. That's great. Provençal, Marthville, how deep is that waiting list at those schools?
I don't have an exact number, but I can get that for you.
Oh, no, I mean, so you do have people on the waiting list?
For those schools specifically, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can get that for you, and I'll email Dr. Eloy or however I can get that information to you.
Just curious because they had such an early group that showed up, and I was wondering if you'd filled backfill some others.
Well, I can tell you, this is what I know. I know that Provençal has 2 classrooms down at Provençal, and we were able to take the students earlier this summer that were on a wait list and offer them Marthaville. However, not many, I think only one took advantage of that option. But I will get you that information. I like hard numbers, so I'll get that information to you so you can have it for your school.
Is there a deadline for the parents to submit the application for pre-K?
No, ma'am.
You said some on the waiting list. And there's no deadline for them. I mean, at a certain point, I'm just asking because I would think there would be a deadline for applications
We are committed to
to the program timely.
Yes, ma'am. I understand your question. We're committed to having our pre-K application portal open all year. This allows us to, when we receive those applications, if we do not have the capacity for those families, we give them options within our Natchitoches Parish Early Childhood Network, because we do have 8 of our early childhood centers that have pre-K 4 classrooms.
Thank you.
Quality, I want to add that, pre-K 4 classrooms. Anything else? Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Rasho. Item 6D on the agenda, Personnel Report, Ms. Ramona Winder. Welcome to your first board meeting.
They're leaving before I get up here. Good evening. How are you all?
Absolutely marvelous.
So you can see the personnel report. As you see, lots of movement, but you all know that already because of the closure of schools and just the restructuring of things. But I do want to applaud Ms. Shanita Nolly and Ms. Anitra Davis for keeping up with it all, because lots of change forms have come through, and so those people have to be moved from one location to another in the system. We've had some title changes that have happened, some salary changes and so on. And so it's a lot to keep up with, a lot of paper to go through, a lot to be added to the system, people to be taken out of the system. But Mrs. Nolly and Ms. Davis have done a tremendous job, and I'm grateful to have them on our team. As Dr. Eloy said, we're almost fully staffed. For the school year, we had a few people to tell us the last minute that, they weren't coming. So that happens. But I can assure you that we're going to have people in place to make sure that our kids have what they need and that they are safe. One of the things we've been working on today is the crossing guards. We are taking over with the crossing guards, so that's been fun having them come in. And Mr. Joey Miller, who is our supervisor of truancy, is going to supervise them. One of our crossing guards is back there, Mr. Sal. So he
Mr.
will be,
Rufus.
yeah, so he'll be continuing at Natchitoches Central. And we do have someone, Ms. Palmer, for our location at Welch and Texas Street. We have someone for there to make sure that students are safe as they're crossing to go over to Natchitoches Junior High. I went out to the school today, and I'm going to see if we possibly need to add another location. I'm just going to watch the traffic right there at crossing over, and I went through it at like Kuntz and I think Dean Street at that location, because we will have some kids, coming from that direction as well. So we'll see if we need to add someone else at that corner right there. So, Mr. Fradu, I know you asked a question about uniforms, and there are some students who, of course, don't qualify for the uniforms because they don't fall under the category of homeless. But I do have uniforms, and I've coordinated and spoken to Ms. Pinckney as well as Mr. Miller about families that call that might need uniforms. And one of the local sororities donated some money to me as well for us to replenish our uniform closet here at Central Office.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you know some
question was brought
families.
up last night at open house. I heard it, and they spoke. The lady that brought it up, said she'd be calling the central office today or tomorrow. So.
Okay, well, please ask her to ask for me if she calls,
Okay.
because we do have some things here.
Thank you.
So in order for them to receive assistance as far as new uniforms that are needed for their children, is there a application, or what is the process? They just come in and
It'll be,
You,
yes, ma'am, it just,
how is it verified? How's the need verified?
Well,
You
what-
just ask.
yes, if they just ask,
Okay.
yeah, that would be verification enough, you know, for me if, and as I said, I know there's some families who, Mr. Miller works with, and there's, you know, been some needs there because we want kids to show up, from school. We don't want them to stay home. So I have some, new uniforms already. I have some gently used uniforms, and as I said, I have that pot of money that I can go and purchase some things.
All sizes, all children from elementary through high school.
Most of what I have right now is elementary and middle school in the sizes. I even have shoes and belts and some things that Ms. Calhoun left that I was able to add to what I already had in stock in my office. We just need to organize it, and I have some people that are going to help me with that. I saw a shelf at the old Natchitoches Junior High because they had a room like where they were
There's
just
basically
doing
a
laundry
store.
or whatever. Yes, and so I noticed some shelving in there.
How they have a store. If you let me know and I'm available, I don't mind coming to assist.
Okay, thank you, because it was enough for me to move my stuff from over there over here in time to keep operating, but I do have some things.
Possibly ask some of my sorority sisters, some of the Zetas to come and assist us. You let me know ahead of time, I'll check.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for the
Yes,
hard work y'all doing.
yes, thank you, thank you. You all have any questions about the personnel report?
I have a comment, not necessarily a question, but thank you for handling the crossing guards on Texas Street in Welch. That was a very big community concern, so I know they're very excited, and we are too. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, thank you. It's been fun having the crossing guards come in, and some of them have been in service for almost 20 years. When I met with Miss Alma Grigsby and Miss Tina Rashel, they came today, Mr. Sal. So it's exciting to work with the group, and so we're going to make sure that we have people in place. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you all.
And thank you for being here, Mr. Sal. Are you still using your light up hand sign? Oh, it's about to go out? Okay, so we need to get Mr. Rufus another sign.
Another one?
Well, thank you for your service. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sal. Okay, item 6E on the informational report, we have the sales tax.
Yes, ma'am.
You-
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
So I'm just going to be very brief. It's good news. For the month of July, we are up 22% from the same time last year. So if you look, that was 1.7 million last year. We're now at 2.1 million for the same time. So only good news to report so far.
Great news. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Palmer, if you could take item 7, Finance Facility Services.
Yes, ma'am. 7A, discuss and consider MOU with Career Compass, grades 6 through 11, support. Jay Gilmore.
So you should have in your agenda the Career Compass MOU for the 6th through 11th grades. There is no change. It's the exact same MOU as last year.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Gilmore? Thank you, Ms. Gilmore.
All right, 7B, discuss and consider MOU with Career Compass, senior support. Ms. Gilmore.
Yes, ma'am. Again, it is the same thing. They will continue to provide support to our seniors for preparing for college and career. No changes.
Okay, 7C, discuss and consider MOU with BIPSI. Ms. Gilmore.
Same as before, BIPSI has shared their MOU with no changes to this year.
Okay. 7D, call resolution for election in Consolidated District 11 for general obligation bonds regarding capital improvements to Provençal Elementary School. Thank you, Ms. Gilmore. Mr. Eloy?
Yes, ma'am. So this is the bond issue that's going out that I believe we did some stuff last month for the newly created District 11, which, if you recall, this includes Provençal and Clucheville as a combination. The The resolution will have to be read at the next meeting, but just to give you some background in terms of what the millage will look like, let me pull this up. Sorry. Oh, here it is. So that would mean in order for this to pass, or not in order for it to pass, if it were to pass, the millage rate for the Clucheville residents who currently have no bond obligation in this new District 11, they would go up to 15 mills because they're currently at 0 regarding this matter. And Provençal residents would go actually see theirs reduced from 22 down to 15 because it would be a combination of the current debt. This would, I believe, we have it scheduled to be on the November 15th vote, and that would be a vote of the people. And you'll see the follow-up item is the list of, which is also a resolution, it's a list of the items that the bond would be dedicated to.
This is a bond that is already in place, paid by basically half of the new district.
It's like
all of the
It
districts.
was by Provençal.
Correct.
Now, because we created the 11th district, it would be with Clucheville.
And what that'll do is that'll create a new amount of funds for that current bond issue because of the increased tax base. Because your tax base went from, in Provençal, it was it was the lowest in the entire district, and now with the combination of the two, that is around 66 million, and so that would provide enough money to look at the HVAC, the roof, an expansion of Provençal, some ball fields, etc. That would be really important to that community and that student body.
Okay, so for housekeeping purposes, next week, do we read the 10 pages?
No, ma'am.
Or,
So,
sorry.
I actually have a call. So, with Mr. Wassum departing and everything, I have reached out to Brennan Black, who's our bond attorney, and I have a call with him Thursday to make sure exactly what I need to do for the next Tuesday meeting to make sure it's in the record legally and all that, and then all the following steps moving forward to make sure that we make the November election.
Okay, so if he does say we do read 10 pages into the record, we'll just do like Sunday school, each person.
I
Take a
guarantee.
few scriptures.
I won't guarantee, but I assure you, I don't believe that will be the case. If it is, I'm.
We've done them before, and it just look like it's the page that will be on the
ballot.
on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Eloy, you said that it was going to be $66 million.
No. That's the tax base.
There you go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
the-
All right. So that
Yeah.
that clarification needs to be
The
announced.
tax base for
Okay.
that district is now 66 million. It will not raise 66 million.
Okay. All right. And
How long would this, I mean, because you got one community going from 0 to 15. So what is the,
it says it's
timeline.
20 years. Here,
Yeah.
Chad. Yeah. It said it's going to raise $12 million over 20 years.
okay, I see
And
that.
again, that's on the next item. If Madam President doesn't mind, I'll go on to it. That's going to provide for new AC, which that is the main reason for this. The Provençal HVAC system is facing severe issues, and so it's the AC in the roof because, as y'all know, we put our ACs on top of the roof. The old gym, which is very, very old. Some upgrades there. Upgrades of athletic facilities. If y'all are aware, right now when they play football, they practice kind of on a dirt patch, things of that nature. Athletic and playground equipment, expansion of cafeteria and bathrooms, and some additional classrooms as well as band and orchestra room. So all good stuff, all very specific to academic programming and extracurriculars.
And this is the millage rate it would need to be at? I mean, to get all this done, there's no way to do it less?
This is based on, I believe Mr. Wassum had conversations with Mr. Matuire and Mr. Danzy, and based on the list of items that they were looking at, this was what the recommendation from the bond attorney was.
Okay.
Ms. Pomp.
Did y'all have anything to say, Mr. Matuire?
We went over what the things that we needed, and that's why we come up with that. That's why we should be able to do what we need with that amount of money.
Okay. Ms. Palmer, does that conclude your report?
That concludes finance.
Thank you so much. Mr. Benefield, I know I call on your services quite often. Would you mind taking the executive report in Mr. Danzy's absence?
Not a problem, ma'am. Item 9A, the executive report, discuss and consider approving the 25-26 alternative program handbook by Ms. Pinckney, and we are going to cover that tonight.
Yes.
Good.
It's the thing that we're not covering tonight is the behavioral pilot. I do want to say, as Ms. Pinckney's getting ready, Ms. Pinckney presented at the LSBA tri-regional or tri-state conference. I keep doing that. Southern region. Sorry. To a room of
those
at
meetings.
least, I think, 400 or 500 people, and was able to tell them all the success she had this year in her absentee and truancy initiatives, and it was really, really well received.
They did a wonderful job.
Thank you very much. And we will have a 24-25 report for the board. We'll just wait and do that next month. So we'll share some of our final results, projected data for you next time, because I think we've got a lot of things on the agenda this month, so I think that one can wait. But tonight I'm here to answer any questions and also talk a little bit about there's very, very minor changes in the handbook, but of course, like I said, if there's any questions, I do appreciate having the meeting that we had last week to really talk about some really big concerns that you all have. And a lot of those concerns went beyond what we see here in the alternative handbook. So it may not be something you see there, but it's definitely something that we are planning to address, as Dr. Eloy said in his superintendent's report earlier. One thing that we want to continue to focus on is how we are addressing social emotional learning while students are in alternative education. We've been working diligently with Ms. Davis. I've actually also gone over and met with her staff to ensure that we do have a very strategic plan of how we want to address. We are we are using some of our social emotional current curriculum, but we are also hoping within the next few weeks to update that curriculum to even include a larger library for teachers to be able to address social emotional learning for our students. You will see throughout the handbook that, of course, Natchitoches Parish Technical and Career Center is now the Natchitoches Provisional Learning Center. So we wanted to make sure, and I hope we didn't miss any part of the handbook where you still see NPTCC. So we tried very hard to make sure that we changed every place where it said NPTCC to now NPLC, but you'll see that throughout. We did talk a little bit about short-term placement. We know that we have tried our best to have an option for our administrators, for students when it comes to discipline. And we know that Short is at the alternative site. We added a little bit of language there about informing parents. We definitely don't want our parents to not know about a student being put at the Short site, so we felt like it was important enough for us to go ahead and include it in the handbook. So you will see language added there about ensuring that a parent is informed of the student being in a Short placement. We did also add some language about students with IEPs. Sometimes that's forgotten, but it's very, very, very important that we don't change any location or any educational environment of a student with an IEP without prior consent from our director of special ed. So we wanted to make sure we put that in writing as well. Moving on, we did just kind of address a few things with Short on the next page. Nothing changed. We still want our schools to have information about Short put in the system by 1:30 so that Ms. Davis and her staff can be prepared to receive the students on the following day. A few other things you'll see is just ensuring that our students, when they are going to the alternative center, we talked a little bit at the last meeting. I'm sad that you guys weren't able to see it, but we did want to make sure that it's understood that if a student goes over and let's say their return date is December 18th and we're getting out of school on the 20th, we want to just ensure that that's not something the student will start when we come back from Christmas. So it was kind of a confusing situation this year with this being our first year doing it this way. So we wanted to make sure that we added language in there that says that if it's so very close to the end that you'll just start back up the next semester, because it just, there's really nothing we can do in 2 days. We also wanted to do a better job of kind of quantifying what progress looks like. We want to make sure that if our students are working in their ingenuity, depending on how long they're there, we want to make sure that we're able to track that process a little bit better than we were able to do this year. We're very excited about the tracking form that's also in our appendix of this document. Where we'll really truly be able to see, and students will also be able to track their progress. We did also add some some more communication pieces for our sending school. When it is time for a student to enter into alternative education, we want to ensure that our schools are prepared to send them into alternative education. We definitely don't want them to be in a position where they're at the alternative site and they're sitting there for a few days with no work. So we put some language there to ensure that we have some things in place. We are also thankful to my team, and I know Ms. Gilmore, I see Jennifer back there. We've been all talking for several months about putting some better processes in place so that that goes a little bit quicker and more effective. We also added, for the most part, I think that we did really good with our parents attending the intake meetings. We definitely don't want it to be a situation where you leave your due process hearing and you show up at the alternative school tomorrow. That's not how we like to do that, so we want to make sure that there is an intake meeting scheduled. We did do that this year, and we really, really liked the process. I think the schools definitely appreciated that process. The parent will meet with Ms. Davis or one of her staff, also our social worker, to be able to determine what that plan, what does it look like for the coming days while this student is in alternative ed. So that's where a plan is set. And going into our appendix, as I said before, it is the very, very last page. We felt like we did need a better tracking system, and I actually met with Ms. Davis and her staff yesterday. She's actually taken the tracking system and created a Google form that will be shared with schools, be shared with us, so that we will be able to track the progress of the students. And she's also tying it to PBIS rewards. So we talked a lot about if the student is averaging an A, they get 4 points. If they're averaging a B, they'll get 3 points. So this is the form as it in its original state. She has done the exact same thing you see here, but in a Google form where teachers can share information about the students so that the sending school will be able to also know how that student is doing. We don't want 90 days or 45 days or however long the student is in alternative ed. We don't want it to be 45 days and then we don't know the student did nothing for 45 days. So this is a weekly tracker for us to keep tabs, a little bit better tabs on what our students are doing while they're in alternative ed. So that was a good bit. Any questions about anything?
I don't know if you said it, but our students they're already there. They're going to be like some that's continuing from last year, semester?
We have a few students that there was something that happened maybe like in May, and so they are starting their school year at the alternative school for a certain amount of time. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Peeney?
Is there any one particular portion of this handbook that caused heartburn or a little bit of anguish?
I wouldn't say necessarily anguish. I just would say that we're just always finding areas where we need to maybe clarify a little bit more. But I wouldn't go as far as to say anguish.
I'm looking at the follow-up behavior support in the homeschool, and that's going to be critical.
Absolutely. So I can actually talk a little bit about that. I meant to do that. We have what's called a reentry hearing for all of our students. So
Really?
so you don't just go over there and you don't just go back to your your home school either. We have a reentry hearing where lots of things are being discussed. Our social worker, but also now Ms. Harris, has been a part of that process these last couple of days to make sure that our students have had a reentry hearing back into their home school. Any type of check-in, check-out procedures that we need, because once again, our students have been in alternative ed for a certain amount of days. And there are things that are always going on. So we want to make sure that they know who they need to go to, who do they need to check in and check out with, if that is a procedure that we're putting in place for that student.
Seems like, as I said before, there's a lot more accountability going on that should have been, but you all caught it and fine tuning things. So I commend you all for that.
And Pastor Harris, you're correct, but there's also a strong handoff program, both entry and exit, which is good.
Right. Which does deal with being accountable, because if we just release you and nobody knows that you're going back over, and that's what sometimes happen, and it wasn't something that you all were doing. We hear that kind of stuff that go on, and so I'm glad that you all put something in place that you can look and see, hey, somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do.
Right. I'm looking back at the team because we've done a lot to try to get a better, and it's not perfect. We are really hoping and praying that we don't get a call if somebody ended up somewhere, but we are prepared if that happens, and hopefully we'll be able to make sure that very quickly they get where they are. I do have a few parents to call even tonight just to make sure that we're good.
And this is definitely more intentional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely more intentional.
Thank you, Ms. Pinckney.
Thank you.
Item B, discuss and consider approval of Natchez Parish School Board 2025-26 pupil progression plan. Ms. Gilmore?
Yes, sir. So I'll start out by saying that the pupil progression plan is certainly a joint effort between my team with the Department of Accountability and Assessment, with Ms. Martin and the Teaching and Learning team, Ms. Lacaz and the SPED team, as well as Ms. Pinckney and the Department of Student Services. So we want to make sure that we are incorporating everybody and covering all of our bases in this document. The state does issue us a template that we use, and so what you see there is that original template. Everything in black is policy that the state creates, and that is not something that we're allowed to make any adjustments to. They give us some small boxes that you'll notice where we can go in and add what the local policies are. What is in blue is remaining from previous years, and then what is in red is our updates. We just have a few minor updates this year. I say minor. Dr. Eloy might need to step in on one of these, but we do have, if you'll notice, under the kindergarten and first grade, on page 5, there are some changes to the percentage of proficiency there. Part of that is due to us having our literacy screener in place now, and so a lot of those standards are addressed under that screener. And so the teaching and learning team felt very strongly about being able to lower that to 75% because so much of those skills were already being addressed in the screener. Also on that same page, though, you will see a retention policy for first graders. As you remember, this year, the third grade policy went into place with the state of Louisiana that the literacy screener would determine whether or not they would advance. The district as a whole has decided to implement that into first grade as well as a preventative measure to attempt to catch those issues earlier and make sure that students are getting to third grade on reading level rather than waiting until later to catch that.
Ms. Gilmore, just for clarification, if they were to fail first grade, and they're retained, and then they don't meet that requirement for Act 422 on the reading level, they would get the good cause exemption because they had already failed prior. So there's no double jeopardy.
Correct.
At grade 3.
Yeah, at grade 3.
We're just catching it earlier than the state.
And several districts are doing the same thing. Some are doing it at second grade, some are doing it at first grade, but majority are doing it at first grade.
And then there's only one other little minor issue. If you notice on page 6, there was a correction to a number there. Failure to obtain a total of 60 points was struck out to 67. That was actually an error that was caught from last year, that when the grading scale was changed, lowered to 60. Inadvertently, that number got changed to 60 there as well, but it should be 67 points that they have to earn to move on to the next grade level. So that's just a correction of a policy that we've had in place. So everything else, though, remains the same within the policy.
Thank you, Ms. Gilmore.
Thank you.
All right. Last item, 9C. Discuss and consider reducing the size of the Natchitoches Parish School Board membership. Ms. Phelps.
Thank you, Mr. Benefield. So, board members, I'm going to read this to you, and if you'll let me get to the end of it, we will open the floor for questions. And the reason why I put my thoughts in words, I did not want to miss anything because it's such an important item. And typically, the way my personality is, if I have a microphone, I will ramble. So I will stick to my script. We have a truly unique and historic opportunity as a board. I'm humbly asking you to step outside of yourself for a few moments and think about our district as a whole. The year of 2025 brought many changes to the landscape of public education in Natchitoches Parish. Goldana Elementary Junior High School closed. Natchitoches Junior High was relocated. Magnet was relocated. East Natchitoches was relocated. Weaver took in a new grade. Lakeview Junior High added a new grade. And we lost a major contributor to the tax base of our school system. International Paper closed its doors. Along with this, our district went through a RIF. Some employees lost jobs or became reassigned. The central office staff was cut by 14%. The overall district was cut by 7%. With this being said, I'm proposing that we reduce the size of the Natchitoches Parish School Board membership count from 11 members to either 9 members or possibly even 7 members. Louisiana Revised Statute 1771.2 states there's a minimum of 5 board members needed with a maximum of 15 board members, and that's required by law. So as long as we have anywhere between 5 and 15, we're within the state legal limit. To give you a statewide snapshot, you'll see there were 2 attachments on your iPad, but to give you a statewide snapshot of what our peers are doing, Lafayette Parish has 46 schools, 9 board members, and 30,000 students. Vols Parish, which they look a lot like we do, they have 11 schools, 9 board members, and 5,000 students. East Baton Rouge Parish, they have more children than the population of Natchitoches Parish as a whole. They have 83 schools, 42,000 students, and 9 board members. So in your package, you will see also the current cost of a board member, what we are costing the district in salary and continuing education. And then there was travel, conference expenses, and then some insurance expense. I believe there's some board members that have health insurance. So you'll see that detailed on the attachment too. So the approximate cost to redraw the lines to reduce the number of board members is $25,000. And that would be a demographer that would come in and do that for us. And so with it being the month of August, I did ask the demographer, what does that look like time-wise with filing date coming up in July? And so he let me know that per Louisiana Revised Statute 18194.5, the plan must be submitted to the Secretary of State by 4:30 p.m. on July 1st, 2026, which is 4 weeks before qualifying opens. Revised Statute 1922, enacted in 2023, requires publication of any proposed reapportionment plan in 2 public meetings, one within 30 days after publication before adoption. Act 199 of 2024 requires the submission of the reapportionment to the clerk of court for review to confirm that it aligns with current precinct boundaries. The plan would need to be published at least by late May to meet the 30-day requirement to adopt in June to be passed by July 1st. So when we talk about this, I want to be perfectly clear. This is not an opportunity for gerrymandering or being discourteous to our rural schools. Absolutely no one would go without representation. The lines will be drawn by an impartial demographer whose sole purpose would be to make sure there's equal representation parish-wide. The demographer will also make certain the district remains balanced for equal representation. So some of you may be inclined to save this for another year or let the next board worry about it once the new election comes by, or even wait until the 2030 census. But the savings will be diminished with every year that we wait. We're simply overstaffed as a board for a district of our size. Every employee, department, or school previously mentioned did not have the opportunity to vote on whether they approved of being moved, closed, or without a job. It was an unwanted change that they had to deal with. So we have an opportunity as a board. We have the opportunity to reduce the size of our board within our own free will and make a historic change for Natchitoches Parish School Board. They did not have that opportunity, but we do. We're constantly asking district employees to do more with less, and I feel like it's our turn to do more with less. So I feel that it's a very important item to be discussed. And with it being August, we've got plenty of time to discuss it. So the floor is now open for any questions, concerns, or both questions and concerns. Or no comment.
I think with all this went on the past few years and the cuts and the changes, I mean, I think having the discussion is the right thing to do. Whether reducing the board in the end happens or ends up being the right thing, having this discussion, investigating, looking into it, it's absolutely the right thing to do. I do think Natchitoches Parish is very unique as far as the way it's spread out. There's one major city only. There's a lot of rural areas, so that is a concern of mine. I sit on the other side of the river, and so I do worry about losing help on the board or true representation for the north side of the parish, and I'm sure the south side of the parish feels that way. But I absolutely feel it's the right thing to do, to have the discussion and see what's best. You look at the savings, and yeah, it's not a big savings, but one janitor, one secretary, one this or that. That guy Rift probably wasn't a big savings either. So that's something to consider. That's my thoughts for now.
Yeah, Natchitoches Parish is blessed with land mass, lots of land. We're very spread out as a parish, over 1,600 miles of roads within the parish. But that is a valid concern because I personally don't know what these lines would look like. So I don't know if it would be like across the river would be Chad only or whoever that candidate is. But I definitely think it's worth exploring.
I think if it's done, you said late May would be when it would have to be decided, and then the maps. It's definitely got to be decided before that. I think way before that, because we have several getting off the board, and if new people are going to run, it takes a long time to make that decision. If you're going to run to be on the board or not, so you don't even know what district you're going to be sitting in. Things like that. So personally, if we do decide to vote on that or have that discussion, it needs to be, in my opinion, before May. I would think, before end of 2025, in my opinion.
Right.
You may have answered this and I didn't hear it. Did the demographer say how long it would take? Like how long it would take him from start to finish?
It usually takes them about a month, but he, or whatever demographer, they use a very intelligent software system that can basically tell you how many people are in each house on this complete system. And the last time we worked with a demographer, I believe we worked with him for about a month. Now, I will say this with, with the deadline of being May, that is potentially when they start their special session, and they will be busier at that point. So the sooner the better, I would think. And I know it's a very awkward conversation to have, and, it's not anything that any of us would be really excited about. Even for myself, I may find myself without a position next to go around, depending on how the lines were drawn. But if any of you were on the board during that time that we did meet with a demographer, it was right after the census, and we had to redraw some of the lines to keep everything fair and balanced. That is their job, and they don't want to end up in a federal lawsuit any more than any of us do by, making mistakes with that. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everyone's fairly represented.
Well, I did work with the demographer. As a matter of fact, I led that. But we did deal with, actually, the demographer and another demographer to make sure that we were, because it always come back to representation, and you want to make sure that everyone is represented fairly. As we had just come out of a federal court order, as we know, and I think we worked great together to make sure that actually we had 5 minority districts, 5 predominantly white districts, and 1 toss-up district, basically. And that was intentional, that anybody could actually win one of those districts, whether you were black or white. So I'm, I'm just, I want everybody to be represented, really, especially when you think about on the side where Chad and I are at. It's a different type of area, Even though I represent both black and white out in that area, if you go on down, Chad has a predominantly white district there. Although I'm able to mix and mingle, they know me there and things like that. I think we have to be very cautious about Natchitoches, because just as Natchitoches is the oldest settlement in the Louisiana Purchase, it's also a lot different from any other geographical place in the state of Louisiana as well. So we must be very mindful of that.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with that. And mathematically, even if we reduce the board membership down to 9, you could still have your 4 minority, 4 not minority, and 1 toss-up that would mimic the same as 11. And then mathematically, you could still do that at 7 board members, 3, 3, and 1. So I just feel so passionately that if East Baton Rouge Parish can make it work with 40,000 students, we can make it work with 9 board members or even 7 board members with 5,000 students, which we don't have the October count yet. We're hoping for more than 5,000 students, but mathematically, I think Natchitoches could make it work just like EBR or any of the other parishes mentioned.
I know we just dealt with the reorganization of the districts so that it could look like everybody's being represented. Even with school closures, those kids still need to be represented. And so I am concerned about diversity and everybody being represented, but making sure that the majority of the city districts and all of the rural districts are represented. I know we are lowest on the totem pole when it comes to the budget. You mentioned about insurance and the cost. I don't know. I think we do need to have discussion because I think most of us don't have insurance costs. I know I don't have my own and that I pay for. So I think since it's come up, it calls for much discussion. And maybe looking at making this change in the near future after the 4-year term is up for the new term and see if it's feasible.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we don't move in this direction. I think we pump the brakes and wait. Louisiana is directly in the news. If you've been following it, the Supreme Court is going to rule on the new representation in our district. And this district was created based on race. And we put 5 minority districts that were created on race. And the Supreme Court is going to hear this case in the 25-26 term. They've given the state until August 27th to file their briefs, and they've given the other group until September 17th to file their briefs as to why they created this district and what it is. And the rest of the nation is probably going to follow suit. This is going to change the way the Voters' Right Act is looked at, and it's also going to change the way representation is looked at, and it's also going to look at the way the 14th Amendment is looked at. And so what we've done, what we did 3.5 years ago, may not be the law of the land in a year. And so if we move forward and do this again, now, it possibly could fall into place. The Supreme Court could say it's okay to create a district based on race. And that's kind of what that district was. If you look at the way it's drawn, it starts at this part and it snakes its way down and curves over to the west. I think it would be money poorly spent and poorly invested until the Supreme Court rules on this, and we determine what our course of action would be based on what they want, or excuse me, what they consider the law of the land is. Now, I may be wrong, but I've been following this very closely in the news, and there's an article that came out 4 days ago, and there's one that came out 2 days ago. I invite every one of the board members to read and Google this. There's a lot of information on this.
You probably saw my name in it too, because.
Well, I didn't get it. It didn't highlight you, Pastor Harris. But there's always room to squeeze you in on that. No.
I'm a plaintiff in that particular the state as well as the federal case, and you're absolutely right about that. But on that argument, our governor as well as the Republican Party agreed on that particular map at that particular time. But you're absolutely right that it was drawn as a representation of a black district.
Who was elected.
That's right.
And so what it does is it pits the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, and the Voters' Right Act in direct collision. They're both all on a collision course. So I think it would be foolish for this board to spend that kind of money doing all of this, and the Supreme Court rules. Now,
That's
they're
what
going
we
to go
don't
back
know.
and
Right. We don't know where the Supreme Court is going to land on this.
And so in October, they're going to convene.
Right.
And we don't know if they're going to hear the case in October or March. We don't know when they start rolling it, slowing it down. But Ms. Phelps, you're absolutely right. It does bear looking into. But for us to use, and using your terminology, the demographer said he's going to keep the balanced representation. You just said 4, 4, and 1. I don't think we create anything until we find out what the Supreme Court rules and what it's going to do to this state, because New York's doing the same thing. California is doing the same thing.
Right.
And this is going to change the landscape of the whole United States of America.
Well, just to be clear, though, that's not school board related, right? That's senatorial districts.
Yeah, but it's also, it is, but it's a test case.
Congressional and Senate.
But it's a test case for how all districts are set up.
But at the same time, it would not constitute us it would not dictate how many board members we can have as a whole.
No, but we did dictate that we wanted 5 minority districts, and they were all drawn up based on race. And so what I'm saying is, if we go back to that same drawing board and use the same criteria, and the Supreme Court overrules what was done in the state of Louisiana, where's that going to leave us?
But
Now we have representation that has been elected or even considered, and we'll be right in the middle of an election period. And I just think it's not the time to do this. I think reason being is I'm concerned about what it's going to do to us legally.
And what he's basically saying is somebody could come back and say it's unconstitutional.
After all that's been created, after all the elections have even...
If they rule.
That's correct. We don't know what's going to happen here.
But what if we had 9 districts that were half minority, half white? Would that even matter if all the districts were equal, the way that lines were drawn? And me not being a demographer, I can't tell you how you make that happen, but what if there were 9 districts that were equally the same? Then that argument's out the window, because at the end of the day, we're looking to save money. We've closed schools. We have people without jobs, and we have the ability as a board to reduce our size to save money, potentially more money than, like Chad mentioned, from a secretarial staff or a janitorial person. And it's a hard conversation to have, but it can be a fair conversation, because with the use of attorneys that we have at our disposal and a demographer, it can be done equally without regards to...
It's going to always come back to the people that we represent. Is going to say, I don't feel represented, or I feel represented, because that's, as we set up in court, that's what the attorneys, that was their basis. Do you feel like you can be represented by this person or that person? And that was the argument. So now if it comes out that we ultimately lose the case, there's going to be a domino effect, really. It's not
All
just
across
gonna
the country.
affect this, what we are contemplating doing. It's going to, the landscape of America is going to decide to do it different. So I don't know.
the money that you're talking about saving, the 53 grand, essentially is less than one person loaded. I'm not trivializing anyone that lost their position. I'm just saying that for us to make this move right now based on what we know that's in the news and what we know that the federal lawsuits are in place and what we know that could happen, I just don't think it makes sense.
Well, and the savings that it will be saving, they're infinite. They're not just for a couple of years. It would be for decades down the road. We would have a smaller, more efficient board. And the 53,000 that you mentioned, that's just salary, not including travel, continuing education, and things of that nature. So I do think it's a good move, and this is what makes our board special. We can sit here and have this conversation and everyone have an opposing view. And at the end of the day, whenever we vote, we'll still vote our convictions. I just feel that we have a unique opportunity to use our board as an example to our district as a whole, that we're not opposed to us feeling the same kind of cut that they've felt.
Those are great points. They really are.
Thank you.
Board members, we're still on 9C. Does anyone have additional comments? Madam President, that concludes the report. Before we close the meeting, there's a gentleman sitting beside me. And for 5 meetings, I've talked about pull tabs and St. Jude and the aluminum can manufacturer. He said, I have no idea. So anyway, I get nothing out of this, but for every gallon of aluminum pull tabs, and Ms. Shauna Hicks brought this in to me today, for every gallon of aluminum pull tabs that we turn into St. Jude, a child chemotherapy is paid for by the Aluminum Can Manufacturers Association. So I'm appealing to the public and everyone else and the superintendent. I'm sorry.
I don't drink Cokes anymore.
It doesn't matter. You have friends. Bring them to me. I don't care if you bring them in a paper bag or this is fine. But we send them to St. Jude's, and the Aluminum Can Manufacturer Association enjoys writing that check to pay for those children to get that chemotherapy. And think about it. We have a lot of strife in our life. We've got illness and sickness. But you have a young family whose child is at St. Jude fighting for their life, and we can do something to help that. And it costs you nothing. Yeah. A Coke or canned drink that you're going to drink this afternoon, just put a cup in your car and save these. And that young family whose child is fighting for their life, you possibly could save that kid's life just by doing the same thing you're already doing, drinking a cold drink. And so please turn them in and bring them to me. We'll get them to St. Jude's, and we do that. We send a lot of them up there.
Say we do a pull tab drive at the schools.
All of them. The Natchitoches Police turned in a gallon the other day. They just set up a big coffee can by the coffee pot, and they came in with a gallon. I mean, same thing. Every school, we can even do a challenge. Yeah, just like they do with,
pizza party or snow cones.
I mean, that would,
at the holidays or whatever.
Good drive.
That would be great. I mean, if we can organize that, it would be great.
Can we invite the public as a whole to assist us?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You know,
Social media and newspaper. What is the time period?
It's ongoing, Miss.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Miss Dot. This is every day.
Schools, we'd probably want to pick like a month or something.
Yeah, like a month or so, and they get something out of it.
But again, this is for a young family whose child potentially could not make it. This is an outreach that our system and our people and our parish could really, really make a difference.
I see the advertising all the time. It's so sad to see children that are suffering with cancer and what the family, just looking at the commercials, it's heart breaking. So whatever we can do to help, I surely think that we should as a board.
Yeah, board, thank you for indulging me the opportunity to speak on behalf of this program. So, Ms. Phelps, that concludes the report and my oration.
And I'd like to point out you're drinking out of a plastic bottle and not a can. Shame on you.
I didn't have.
Board members, before we adjourn, tomorrow is the start of school. Be in prayer for our students, our teachers, bus drivers, crosswalk workers. Dr. Eloy, are you going to try to make every school like you normally do?
We'll see if
We'll
we're able
see.
to, yeah.
So,
It's always- we have a lot of meetings tomorrow as well, but I'm gonna try to at least make a large portion and then the rest of them.
By the end of the week.
Yeah.
By the end of the week. We'll check. We know people at the schools.
So this meeting is adjourned.